Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, meathead. I mean, there's a saying here in Britain, it's money for old soap. Am I saying that right? Money for old soap? Yeah. Money for old soap. Nobody would buy a used piece of soap, would they? I don't think they would. But anyway, money for old soap. But you may bid 25 times and not win. But but now I'm told they can build algorithms and all this shit to just bid for you, and I don't know anything about that. I didn't, because that's certainly not how I did it. But there's guys that I bid against in 1981 and 1982 it's supposed to be a 3-year program to help small business. And then they stretch it to a 5-year program. But there's guys like me that bid and won in 82 that are still there in 2023. They've obviously relaxed the restrictions because all the government wants is constant flow. They want to know when they bid out a contract that the fucking thing, gets done. And that's why they gave me the third contract, the $10 million contract, which was fine, because $50 million sounds better than $40 million. And the refinery's not stupid when they got the orders. They get the money first. When they got the orders, they fucking just kept the refinery cranked up. But that it's just it's not an anomaly of business. And the government, this is the way not just our government, the Canadian government, everybody does the same thing. But I mean, now you're going to try to make contact, not with Boeing or whoever you pick. Cardinal Health had 15% of their business goes to small business. They don't answer texts. They don't answer emails. They answer a persistent guy there in the lobby at their government facility or the deployment of government, whatever the fuck. I got 2 kids, billionaires because of face masks. Back in, Corona. 2 of my kids, billionaires because of face masks. They bought face masks from, not Paraguay, someplace, some third world country for $1.03 or $1.04 in the beginning before they realized. Then it was $1.40, then $1.80, then $2.20, and they sold them to various hospitals, the federal government first. For the lowest one was the one at $1.04 was sold for $4.05. The one at $1.40 was sold at $6, and the most that I heard a face mask sold for was about less than $10, and they cost about a nickel. My kids couldn't get to the face mask quick enough. That's not the only thing they sold, but face masks. When the first billionaire on face masks was made March 23rd. I still remember the day. What were you doing? You were listening to Ty Lopez podcast. You were reading a book, And I'm okay, yes.
So the idea is we go to, British Aerospace. We say to them...
Okay, British Aerospace, okay. They may not, you have to change your accent a little.
Okay. We go to British Aerospace. And then we're bidding on the deal, but we outsource.
No, British Aerospace has a government contract division. Okay? You look on their website. It's got some fucking moron, brigadier or major general or Sir Percy or Lord Shitbag. That's the head of it, right? You give him a quick phone, as they say in Scotland, okay? I see that you let, or you're asking for bids for toilet seats, because aerospace, they do make toilet seats for real planes, okay? And you find out not everybody fulfills every bid. Not everybody, it depends on the supply chain. By the way, the excuse for mismanagement now is 100% supply chain. They blame everything on supply chain, whether it is supply chain or not, okay? And And now I would go. I don't know where British Aerospace is headquartered, but it's not that far.
Preston.
Pardon?
There's a big one in Preston.
Okay, I'd go there, and find out, make an appointment to see the guy that's, or the gal or the it that's in charge of government contracts. And they have hundreds of millions of pounds of shit. I don't mean shit, but stuff. And I go to where the contracts are not failed, but the only contracts that weren't 100% fulfilled. That means there's a gap, there's a shortage, there's a disparity. You follow me? If they're 110% fulfilled, you can pound on the door from now until you're 50. You're not going to get much response. But if they didn't, they only said 87% utilization, 93% utilization. If you're really lucky, they only got 50% of what they wanted. I'm on them like stink on shit. Okay? Then you see who fulfilled the contracts. But more importantly, who didn't, as they say in Scotland. Who didn't? Who, stepped on their dick. And then, I could cajole information, whether you can or not, because this is confidential. You're not supposed to know any of this shit. But, so-and-so, ABC, Aerospace, cocksuckers down in Bristol let us down. That's what they say in Britain. They let you down. Okay? And, their factory broke down, or the greenies put dye in their... all kind of shit happens. They blew the tires out in the trucks before they delivered. You don't give a shit. All you want to know is they didn't fulfill the contract. And then I go down there, Now, to the extent that I ever made any friends, I made friends with Marion Refining. God bless them. And to this day, I owe them a lot. Okay, it's new management now, 40 years later. And I find out, and I figure out, can I use them just because they didn't fulfill, as long as they're not on the blacklist, which supposedly doesn't exist, the blacklist, which I'm here to tell you, it does exist. And then I see, are you considering now, normally when they get slapped like that, they're going through a state of depression or cash flow, and find out how their cash flow is going. And would you consider bidding again? It's no skin off their nose. They don't chastise you, they don't chastise you if you missed a bid. And now they accept all kinds of excuses. Back when I did it, there was no excuse. You had one time to try, and that was it. Now, because of, you cry on TV, everybody forgives you now. And they probably have an excuse. They wrote a letter to the government, et cetera, et cetera. And then you figure out, and I plan a few weeks ahead. I wouldn't try to get, even though you're all starving to death, and you don't have enough money to get home. You do because you live right around the corner. But I mean, don't rush the deal so then you don't perform and then you're fucked. So I'd wait, I'd bid for October. Give you plenty of time because most of you lazy cunts are going to go on 7-week holiday to, Madrid or because I know you. Contrary, you're not going to get out there and just, run towards the gunfire. And you get it set up. You're running like crazy to put your board together. And then when they say, well, who are you? Or a NUCO. And you run like a dog, and all of a sudden you're going to get your board together in 3 days. Maybe 1 day. Because you pressed. You got a reason now. They got a gun to your head. And now, some government, ex-military, in the United States, you can't do business with the government for 2 years if you're a senior guy. So, and when you're pitching them on the board, they're going to say, well, subject, so they have to be retired. You can't get a guy that's getting ready to retire. He has to absolutely, or she has to absolutely be retired. Can you do business with the government? Just flat ass ask them. And part of their discharge papers, they'll say, it depends on, like a nuclear shit like that, they can't do business for several years. But don't bid on that nuclear stuff. You have to supply milk to the air base. So then now you're going to the dairies. Danone, my milk guys, okay? And you can do all this. For the guys that are in the UK, they can do it, I know you probably have to take a bus there and hitchhike and shit like that. But in the United States, it's a little more difficult because there's long distances between these things. I took a bus to see Marion Refining. A fucking bus. It's 2.5 days from Los Angeles to Mobile, Alabama on a bus. It's 5 tickets. I only paid for 4 because I was asleep in the back and they didn't come and collect my ticket. I owe you, bus company. Greyhound bus. I don't know if Greyhound bus is still around. But there's 9 million people that are bidding on these things. So, but you just continue to bid. And the Boeings of this world or the people that make milk, okay, you got a year. And if that's all you do is bid, you're going to get a bid. You get a contract. And you may get, because you bid so consistently, even though you didn't win the bid, you may get email, says, I see you bid on this, but we got a contract that failed for such and such. Can you fulfill it? Don't say you can fulfill it if you can't. I did. And then I made it happen. But if you don't make it happen, then you're fucked. And all they want is people that perform. That's all And the price is secondary. And that's why they can pick now between the first and the top 10 bidders. And the difference in the bids may only be 1/10 of a penny or 1,000th of a penny or whatever. But and we had a lot of kids. And I've just talked to you about the big ones. And you heard Raymond yourself. He had 7 failures. And then, his 8th and 9th were successful. Yes, sir.
So in your case of the refinery unfulfilled, and then you say, hey, you want to do another bid, would you have access? How would you get access or introduce yourself to get access to their books or do corrective action?
I'm not sure I understand it. What do you mean corrective action?
I guess I would need to understand why they didn't win the bid initially.
Well, no, the first bid I did win. What I'm saying is, because Marion Refining knew how to bid. They knew what to bid, and the other 60% or the 40% that was laying fallow or empty in the refinery, they didn't want any more, but the 60%, half of the 60% was for government contract. So they know, they just called up the trader on the desk and, what's JP45? What's the spread, 104 to 104.5? We've got $1 million on the bid side and we've got $2 million on the ask side, and they knew what to bid. And now it's all electronic. Before it was, and they do it for jet fuel, diesel, grease, airplane parts, toilet seat parts, except for not for the astronauts, bolts, nails, ammunition, curtains, glass, flooring, you name it, and there's a government contract. And like when we left Afghanistan, it's estimated we left $45 billion worth of shit on the ground. It's really about $245 billion, but anyway, call it $50 billion on the ground. Well, now all the stockpiles of America has got to be replenished. They didn't pull the shit from Afghanistan. They want it out of there. It's like when you get a divorce, you went out. And the government, not just one, all the governments do the same. They overspend and they underperform. When the thing in Ukraine ends, we're going to have hundreds of billions of dollars of shit there. That I guarantee, my best guess, one man's opinion, that the warlords that were there before the war, that are still there, are going to get rich. I'm sure Ukraine has government contracts. I haven't looked. We had a guy here a year ago, came to the last hardcore, retired Canadian Navy, I think. Yeah, anyway. Logistic guy. But he can't do business. Now, he knows inside and out. He's got to wait 36 months, which is right about now, before he can bid or do business with the Canadian government. But as I told him, which he just was almost fell dead, does that contract forbid you from doing business with the American government? He almost collapsed over. No. Guess what? So he wiped his tears from not being able to do business with a Canadian, and he was on the U.S. government like stink on shit. And this is municipalities. There's a famous story, Mesa, California. There was a guy, a city manager there for 35, 40 years. His name was Garcia, a Mexican guy. And he wound up being an illegal alien, but that's a whole other story. And 60 or 70% of all the employees of Mesa, California, coincidentally, were directly or indirectly Garcias. Coincidence, you know. And 75% of all the contracts in the last 27 or 28 years went to companies that were directly or indirectly owned by these same Garcias. He didn't do anything illegal except disclosure. He didn't cheat him on the prize, none of that. But you're supposed to disclose, and he didn't. It was a big fiasco. A bunch of people went to jail. They cut a bunch of deals like with Biden's son, and his salary was $600,000 a year. He did exactly what I'm telling you, except he did it with all his relations, and they got to be pretty wealthy. But if he had disclosed it, but he was worried about disclosing, so he didn't disclose it, and so they got in a lot of trouble. And some investigative reporter from some little chicken shit paper in San Diego, because he had gone out with a Garcia or something, whistle blew. But if he had disclosed, there wouldn't be any whistleblowing. They now have whistleblowing phone numbers, 800 numbers. I called one just for fun a few weeks ago to see it. Do you speak Spanish, English, French? Do you want your voice to be not covered up, but changed, so it doesn't sound like your own voice? And you can do all the whistleblowing and, names, numbers, and a lot of the whistleblowing activity is vengeance, spitefulness, but a lot of it's legitimate. And somebody whistleblew on him. Government contracts is a thing of beauty. And you do that the first couple of years so you get money, because you're more likely not to do a deal like Amber did in 60 days. More likely not to do a deal like Irish did in 26 days. Irish's deal, he cash flowed right away. But Amber is going to have to do 2 or 3 deals before she can pay herself a salary because the deals are small. There used to be a guy back in the infomercial day of the 80s. All this that I'm telling you right now, he did an infomercial. And he used to get dressed up like with an American flag hat, an American flag and this shit. And the federal government took him off the air because he was telling all the loopholes, how he did get business from the government, et cetera. And, he didn't go to jail, but they took him off the air. Some people would say it's shambolic, the way the government bids business. You call it what you will. What they're not doing is not illegal. And in this country, most of the free world has the same system. Bidding on contracting, roads, everything. Tarmac, steel, you name it. It's got government set aside. Yeah.
Mr. Peña, why do you advise not going to nuclear government contracts or nuclear related?
Because the guys that you get for industry experts, et cetera, which are mostly government, ex-military, can't be involved unless you get a guy that's retired 5 years ago. But the guys that have the most clout retired last year. Like the 2 chiefs of staff that Trump lost, Marine guys, Mad Dog Mattis and that other one, whatever the other one's name was, it's enough time has passed where they can get involved in bidding for government contracts. But normally you can't. You have to wait. Now, I didn't know this, but I was forbade from doing business with the government for 5 years. After I got out of the military, I didn't try to because of my government clearances, top secret, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't try to get any business from the government because I got out in 73 and I didn't do a government contract till 82. But that's just by serendipity, not because I was doing it on purpose. If I had known that, the milk and honey of this when I first got out, I probably would have never finished university, because I had the contact, and I would have done it in Europe because I had NATO contacts. I had real live people that I had served with and knew or reported to, but that's why they don't let you do it. Yes, sir, in the back.
So with a government contract, you're just a middleman. You just read the contract and then you just pass that on.
No, you bid jointly and you get the contract. Their name's on top. But they have to do it through a smaller company. They have to bid 15% of their business. They have to give away. So why not you? Now, having met and known you and sat next to dinner, I know why not you. But, that's only because I know you a little. But, and, if you know what I mean, in Ireland it's a little different, but it's the same. I'm not telling you how, please believe me. I'll do the right thing by you. I don't know what that means, but I know it means something in Belfast. I know it means something in County Cork. I know that for a fucking fact because I've been in business there. What does that mean, Tony? Don't worry about it. I'll tell you later if you know what I mean. But it's a lovely place to do business, Ireland. God damn. And as Sally alluded to last night, it's a lot of fucking fun. Some of these places, no fucking fun. Until you make enough money to leave there. That's the only fun there is. Okay, guys, 5:30. Who's my 5:30? Yes, sir. 6? Yes, sir. 6:30. Yes, sir. Haven't I already talked to you? No, I only sat. I had the pleasure of sitting next to you at dinner. That's right. Okay, I'll see 5:30. Dinner's in there tonight. And work on your goals. I'm looking forward to see them like this. Bold, unrealistic, bodacious, over the top, unconventional, and can't accomplish in my lifetime.